Okay, let's not do like this over here. We're recording this. A lot of stories. Let's all extend our arms.
Whoa.
Extend your arms, Karthik. Extend your arms.
What am I doing?
Experiment. Make this experiment. This is the intro. Hello, guys. Welcome to Black Lab episode 2. This episode, we have discussed what is art.
Oh my
Very,
god.
very important philosophical question.
Yeah.
Ravish had a lot of interesting things to say. So did Karthik, and so did I. We hope you have a wonderful time looking at this episode.
Needs to.
We hope you have a wonderful time listening to our podcast.
Bye guys. I spoiled it. Sorry.
Bye, guys.
We'll redo it. We'll redo that.
In art,
Yeah.
the same question pops up, and all the moments in art history have been about redefining what art is. So when people say that's not art, some people say that this is art but this is not art. Some people say this is a craft made by artisans, not by artists. Like, weaving pottery or knitting a sweater. They say that's not art. That's a craft. Like, it takes skill and effort, but it's artisan. Like, the person making it is an artisan, not a artist.
Can you tell me?
But I don't agree with the definition. All the moments in art history have been about redefining whatever definition exists. So I'll give you an example. Art started by art. Now, to produce art, lot of time and lot of effort goes into the mix. Okay, the artist has to be supported in the time he takes to produce art. So someone has to not philanthropist, some patron,
Income.
some patron has to fund him to produce that art. Who were rich patrons of the day? It was the church and it was the aristocrats. So they would commission art about, like, holy art, about Christianity, about Jesus Christ, Mother Mary, or the aristocrats. And those paintings were produced. So if you look at like really old paintings, the first wave of paintings where photography wasn't there, they're all religious art, and little bit later they're about aristocrats. But then photography became a thing. Artists did not have to paint in order to depict, like, to capture a certain image. So then they see, it's weird for us, but with these unspoken rules, unwritten rules, unsaid rules, the definition of art was religious art and aristocrat art. But then, because it was unwritten rule, right? The artists started breaking that rule. Then they started painting mundane things, like workers tilling soil in the field, right? That was a controversial and radical shift when someone made a painting for the first time. That was the moment. That's why if you just look at the painting, you'll be like, it's not moving. But then you need to understand the history and the context. Why this painting was radical at the moment, at the time. That's art history. So you broke a rule. I'll paint mundane people. I'll just paint scenery. I'll just paint, I don't know, just a house. Animals. There are the very famous paintings, and this is the context. Then they said, okay, fine, you have broken that rule. Now this is also art. What other rules can we break? But that are unwritten. The challenge is to identify the unwritten rules, then to break it, and still being able to call this art. So then they said, okay, fine, why does it have to be realistic? So, for example, everything in real life, apart from artificially manufactured, especially now in factories, everything is muted colors. You don't have very saturated pink in nature.
Yeah.
Right? Everything is very muted. So what you have, like, you have these pigments, you mix them, make them muted enough, and then paint because you want to depict reality. But then in France, I forget the artist, he painted directly from the paint tubes. Okay? And it looked very bad. It looked very ugly. And some of the critics, when it was displayed in the gallery, some of the critics they described the artists as Fauvists, as wild. That's a translated to wild beasts in English. So they were wild beasts, and that became the name of the movement, Fauvism, where like you don't paint to depict reality. You in fact make a very ugly painting. It's almost like when you look at those paintings. I've looked at those paintings. It looks like uh, children's paintings that's made with sketch pens.
It'll be abstract though, right?
No. It's not abstract at all. I'll come to the abstract part. So it's you, but your skin color is like bright pink, right? It's like children who use sketch pens and make drawings.
Right.
It's saturated. You can't mix paints and sketch pens. So it looks like that. So that rule was broken. Then Picasso came along. Like I'm missing a lot of movements. Like every movement was about breaking some unwritten rule. Picasso is famous for Cubism, which was why do I have to paint you or whatever the subject is in one perspective? I can your eyes can be from this perspective, but your ears can be painted from a different perspective in the same painting.
Yeah.
So he broke that rule. And modern art, so to say, which is 40, 50 years old, it's not modern at all, was about why does art have to be about something? Why can't art be about art? Why can't a painting just be a painting? Why does it have to have a subject? Why can't red paint on canvas be art? Right? Just shapes. Just focus on design elements. Just focus on what's the word in design? Composition and negative space. Why can't those things look beautiful by themselves? Why can't the paint be the subject itself? That became. So then you have all these like modern art paintings that you look at without context and think, I can make that. But you don't understand the context. They're trying to break a rule, an unwritten rule. It took them to identify the rule.
But you could still make that.
You can make it.
Yeah.
But that's not, art is not something, art doesn't have a qualifying factor that it has to be difficult to be made. Art is like, in fact, intellectual, I think. So it is still art, not because it's easy to make, but because it's intellectual. They were making a statement. If those paintings that broke the rules of that time is art, this should also be art. They're breaking a rule. Jackson Pollock's paintings were about, why do I have to paint with my hand? I'll use this action painting, this where you drop paint.
Right.
And that they're powerful paintings. I've seen a big full-fledged Jackson Pollock that occupies the entire room. In fact, 2 rooms. And just drip like paint everywhere. They're quite powerful. And I don't think you can say they're not art. People who say that's not art are people who don't understand the context in which it's produced. They're aliens to the field of art who come in, look at a painting, don't understand the context, don't understand the history, and say, I can make that, or my grandchildren can make that, and say that's not art. But that's just them not understanding why that painting exists in the first place.
To them, that is not art, right? Like in their definition of in our definition of art, yeah, sure.
No, the definition has to be agreed upon. So
no, why? Like he's the one saying this, right? That this is not art. You can't say that I'm going to apply my definition to that. You have to look at his definition, right?
But it's rarely ever the case that you say this is my definition of art. You try to govern, like why do we care so much about the definition in the first place? If everyone could define it by their own standard, we care so much because we use that to define other goals. For example, the famous Duchamp, there was an artist called something Duchamp, I forget his first name. I don't know if you've heard of it. He created a society for displaying art by amateur artists, I think in France. And then the only agreed upon definition of what qualifies as art. See, again, here, his definition, we are using definition to display art in a gallery.
Right.
What qualifies as art, right? So here you can say, well, my definition is this, but then you need to have an objective definition, at least for the purpose of this gallery.
Right.
So him and his colleagues, the people who came up with the society, they said, if anybody bothers to make an entry, we will accept it. We should accept it. That was the rule. So to test this hypothesis, to test how radical this rule was, like you can literally submit anything and it will be displayed in this gallery. It should be displayed in this gallery according to the rules. He, under a pseudonym, I think of R. Mutt, M-U-T-T, he submitted a urinal, like a urinal that you find in male restrooms. He just turned it perpendicular, signed his name, R. Mutt, and submitted it, calling it the Fountain. The name of the art, the piece of art was Fountain. And then they rejected it. So this was published, this was publicized, it became a whole thing. He resigned from the society. And then we still talk about this piece today of what constitutes art, what makes art. When you have this talk about what makes art, what is art, you start with the Fountain. It's very influential, right? So can you, without any effort, there is no effort here. There's already a mundane object. You coming along, you the artist coming along and pointing to it and calling it art makes it art. That is the most progressive definition that is agreed upon in the academic circles now.
I think that such a definition is fair. But if somebody is coming and saying that, look, this is not art, they are talking about art in a way they have defined it for themselves.
No,
for them, art may be
what
something.
you're essentially doing, if you're saying everyone has their own definition, you're making the whole discussion of what is art redundant. You're saying everyone defines it however
No,
they
like
want.
I'm saying, if somebody casually comes and mentions this is not art or this is not good. Let's say somebody comes and says, bro, something you made, they taste it or see it or whatever and say, bro, this is not good. Now you can't be like, bro, I define good in so and so manner and therefore it's good.
No,
you will be like, bro, what is your definition of good? Because you're the one making this claim.
It's not as trivial as that, where you say like, oh, I think this is good, this is not good. So especially with art, the definition is quite important because it is an intellectual space. When you're producing it, it's not something that just looks good or takes a lot of effort to produce or takes a lot of skill, takes a lot of labor. It's none of those things. Because it's not those things, and every single attempt at a definition or at a qualifying threshold can be shown to be a threshold that shouldn't qualify. You can define it as art is something that I produce in my bathroom in the morning. Yeah. Okay, you can define that, but that's not a good definition. And the conversation we have about what is the definition are about, yes, you put forth definition and you say, no, this is a better definition. So yes,
right.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that art, the way from what you mentioned, is that it evolved where people would gatekeep what art was.
Yes.
And then somebody would come break the rule.
With unwritten rules.
Correct. Now let us say that somebody is coming, or like there's a crowd of people who believe that something is not art. Who is to say that 20 is too short time span, 200 years later, their perspective would be considered art because that was the contrarian view. Right? Like back then people would have been like, bro, how can they call it art? Art is defined like this.
Yeah,
but somebody came and broke that rule.
Yeah.
Today, with benefit of hindsight, we're like, bro, crazy guys, they broke the rule. Look at how they've done. But today, people who are breaking the rule, art, the community of artists and the academics in that space have a very academic definition of what art is.
Yes.
Somebody from the outside is coming and trying to break it. They're saying that, bro, now art has gotten too easy. They have reasons for it. Let me just finish this. They may have reasons for it. They may say, bro, art has gotten too easy. There has to be some effort, some skill involved. Therefore, I am defining art as something that requires effort and skill and not as anything that anybody can submit. Now, what if this 200 years later becomes a view that people adopt? Academics then 200 years later are saying this is art, and they will look at these people in 2025 saying that no, that is not art. I'm the gatekeeper.
No, I understand the point. So the rule breaking always is enabling, it's not disabling. You can say this also is art.
That's a rule in itself.
No. So every single time you break your rules, you don't discredit the rules that have been previously broken. Okay, the act of breaking a rule is not a rule. That's just semantics. You can't say, I will reintroduce that rule and that's a new rule or that's a breaking of a rule. So every time you break a rule that you You see, you identify, that is unwritten. People are going, the collective conscious of the society is going along with it without thinking about it. And then you produce a piece of art that breaks that very rule that's apparent in the piece of art. And then you say, this is also still art. That's how you do it. So if you come and produce a piece that requires effort, it already qualifies as art by our definition. So you're not breaking any rules.
No, they're saying
se.
their rule is that for me to consider something art, the requirement is that skill and effort has to go. I'm not saying I believe in this view. I think my personal view is that anything is art. If you feel,
Ravish,
yeah,
what is the rule that you're breaking?
you're breaking the current view on what art is.
No, you don't.
Bro, that's what has. See, look.
What art do you produce to break that rule? And what is the rule that is being broken?
You're not. See, I don't think. First of all, I don't agree that you have to break a rule per se. I think if you have a position that is contrarian, right, in itself, that in itself is opposing the current.
No, I think you have to
view,
make art.
right?
I'll tell you why. Because anybody can come along and say, that example I gave you, art is only and only what I produce in my bathroom in the morning.
Fair. I will say, yeah, bro, to you, that is art.
That is not breaking
But
the
if you
rule.
go outside and say that, people are going to stoop on you, bro. To that person, he's right. How is he wrong? How are you to say he's wrong? Are you going to now say that his definition of art is wrong?
You're striking at the root of any sort of discussion based that says one is more right and one is more wrong.
Guys, I think like whatever collective value the society puts on any particular creation, it is deemed art. Like there are many artists when they were alive, their art piece was trash.
Yeah.
No, not treated. It was not valued. But when they're gone, it's treated really well. It's valued now. So I think it's the collective value that you place on a creation.
No, but see, no, you're not understanding the idea. The idea is art was defined as something very narrow. The bandwidth was very narrow. And breaking rules has always expanded. Okay? You can only contract by adding rules. You're not breaking rules. Okay? When you say it takes effort, that's a rule that you add. You're not breaking a rule. Okay? So art movements have only been about and can only be about expanding. Because if you have a problem of saying this is not considered art but should be, that's when you get to break a rule. If you define art in this is on this narrow bandwidth, you're out of the conversation. No one's going to listen to you. Like you said, you can say art should take effort or art is only something that I can produce in Bangalore. Those definitions simply don't qualify. And let's say they do qualify. Our definition of art is all that and more. So the right now definition, not an academic thing, but appreciating the history, acknowledging the history, we have defined art in a compatibilist way where they say any artist who comes along and calls anything art, even without touching it. That mundane thing, if it already exists, because if it doesn't exist, you have to bring it into existence. But if it already exists, if it already has, it's mundane and it has a purpose, a mundane purpose. Like the urinal, it was supposed to collect, collect all the urine into the pipe. If that's its mundane function, it immediately, and this is the terminology, it immediately elevates when an artist comes along and points to it and calls it art. It elevates from its mundanity and becomes art.
Only if the society puts value in that artist. Only then.
No, I don't agree.
So
I
you're
don't
saying
agree with that.
artists who are not valued are not producing art.
Like
An unrecognized artist is not producing art.
like it's like coming back to what Ravish is saying. Like Ravish is saying, from my perspective, it is art. It won't matter.
The definition has to be above what the society perceives. So this is again.
I'll tell you, here's the thing, man. I completely understand that of having expansive definition of the word art or any word. But I feel like one risk of doing that is that these words lose meaning then.
No.
Right? Don't you? I'm not saying I personally believe this. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and think through this. Do you guys feel like the word loses some meaning if it's all encompassing? If good
it's
is,
not
if
all
everything is
encompassing.
good,
There is a
Here's the
qualifying.
thing: if everything is good, then what does good even mean?
No, it's not good. It's art.
What
And
does
there is
art
a
even mean then?
There
If
is a
everything, yeah.
It's anything that an artist comes and points to and calls art. That's what art is. So he's not. There is nobody who's pointing to everything, and there are things that are not art. This curtain is not art. If I call it art, it becomes art. That's the definition. That's the qualifying.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's by definition. It's not what you're saying. That's a different. That's a different standard. Why we say this? Because.
Abhishek, can I come in?
Go on.
So I think if you pointing out at an object and saying that is an art will carry less value rather than an artist who's an actual artist who's valued and revered, he coming and pointing out to the same urinal.
Value is not at all playing a role in the definition of art.
Experienced.
No, the experience, none of that makes a difference. Any conscious agent coming and pointing to you being Picasso coming and doing that might you can derive more money if it's auctioned. But that's different. That's not the definition of art. Art produced in the basement of this unknown artist is still art.
All right.
So why we do that, and maybe this will convince you. The art, the phenomena, like art as a phenomena exists not between the piece and the artist. It exists as a phenomena between the piece and the viewer. Okay? So I might call this curtain art and move on. Like, I might not think about it twice.
So why is one viewer more important than the other viewer?
No, it's not important. I'll come to it. Someone who comes, like the same thing with Armat, like, he just inverted a urinal, called it, and we still talk about it. If anything is art, that should be art, because art basically drives conversation, drives philosophical thought, and helps the society explore, broaden our frontiers of thought. That's essentially what art should do, right? It's not all that it should do, but it should basically do that. And this piece of art has achieved that more than any other piece of art, especially because of its context. So if there was a viral reel where in a modern art gallery, someone removed his spectacles, put it in the corner, right? And he did that as a prank because of how mundane he thought some of the other pieces of art were. He did that as as a satire. And then in half an hour's 1 hour time, everyone was coming and photographing that. They were covering it. They were reporting it. That even made it to New York Times, right? Everyone was looking and introspecting and thinking and having a conversation. Over here, that spectacles has become art. It's driving conversation. So the phenomena of art doesn't exist between the artist and the piece. He might have done it in a moment of
So then
dull.
why is a chair not a table?
Had no one noticed, had no one noticed and reported on the spectacles, it would never come to his attention as an art, as a piece of art. That's what I'm saying.
There has to be a viewer. Is that what you're saying?
There has to be collective value placed by the viewer.
Can it be individual value?
You can undervalue. No. Value is different. There has to be a viewer. There has to be a viewer. At least the artist has to view it by himself.
Somebody has to view it.
Yeah, when a conscious agent is saying this is art, at least he knows that he is calling it art. So there's no the same thing with identity that you earlier mentioned. There's at least self-viewership, right? Number one. Number two, whether you don't value a piece of art doesn't make it less art. You might not want to buy it. You might not think it's worth 10 cents, but it's still art.
All right.
It's just bad art. There are examples of bad art.
It's art in the way you define art. Bro, like, I don't think we can be gatekeepers of like definitions here, right? If I come and say, bro, that is not art.
Then why do you define it differently?
I'm not saying I define it.
And why do you define it differently?
I in fact define it the way you define it. I love that broad, expansive thing because it's more accommodating.
So then what's the disagreement?
I'm thinking from a perspective of somebody who believes, I'm not that person, but somebody who believes that, look, art is something I have been taught growing up is that it requires some skill to do, it requires some
So
effort.
then their definition is demonstrably wrong.
How is it demonstrably wrong?
I'll tell you, because you can come up with examples of art that doesn't fall under their definition. So the only person
To them,
who
that's
can...
not art. To them, they're disregarding. They're saying all these examples are not art to me.
Ravish, this is the non sequitur argument that every first year law student comes up with. Like anytime there's any intellectual discourse on what is right and what is wrong, you basically say it's subjective, and that basically ends the conversation. That's what you're doing.
I'm not
that
saying
kills the conversation.
I'm saying it's not fair to impose definitions.
It's not here. This is the most liberal definition where you don't impose it at all. You're not gatekeeping it.
You're still
allowing it
imposing.
everything.
You're saying that it's imposing in the sense that
the person who's saying only and only skill,
they are imposing something.
They are imposing.
But what your perspective, what your view also imposes is that this is the view. No. Any other view is wrong. That is an imposition in itself, isn't it? How is that not an imposition?
This is not an imposition because in my definition of art, you can actually continue believing that art requires skill. Okay, your subjective definition of art is compatible with my definition of everything an artist calls an art is art. But if I say only skill, then someone who believes that no skill but rather intellectual thought, his definition is incompatible with my definition.
Your definition can be a subset.
Yes.
Correct. I completely
So my
agree.
definition is the only definition that allows all other definitions and subjectivity to even exist in the first place.
But I think that's not like a helpful sort of approach to it, right? Like, see,
Why not?
I think art should be given that.
Art is democratic. Art is the one thing that doesn't have a purpose. Okay? Art for art's sake, aestheticism. So you look at cave paintings, okay? Primitive societies that they can barely get their hands on tools, okay, sharp tools. For them to have created, like, art is so human, art is so intrinsic in us. We have STEM, but a lot of contemporary philosophers want to make it STEAM. Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Because art is so human, like even primitive men who derive no value from making cave paint, but they painted their palms and painted their cave walls. So some of the examples of the earliest arts we know exist. It's mind-boggling how those people came up with expressing, with a form of expression. Art is a form of expression. There is no meaning, purpose, utility to art.
See,
It
I
exists for
completely
its own
agree
sake.
with that perspective. Look, I'm on your side, but just playing devil's
It
advocate.
has to be liberal. It has to be democratic.
But what if somebody were to argue that, look, I completely understand that my position is a subset of yours, but at the end of the day, effectively what is happening is you're making an imposition.
No.
It's not an imposition. Let's say it's not an imposition. It is
You're angry that people are more liberal. If I say freedom of speech exists and you're allowed to say what you want to say, and you say you can only say things if it's aligned with the Bible or something like that, and nothing else. You can't say I am imposing something on you.
Abhishek, can I ask you?
You are attempting to impose on me. Go on.
That makes sense.
Let's say there's a planet which we have not explored. No conscious being has
Your favorite example.
Yeah.
Your favorite example of a planet. Yeah.
The gender thing we spoke about. Yeah, similar example.
Everyone has a go-to analogy.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's a completely fair.
I
Yeah.
It's
was
just
not
funny, that's
drawing
all.
with that. Sorry, and it never hit me. I was confused.
What is it? Schmite.
Schmite.
Schmite. It's a side, bro.
I borrowed it from Philosophy Tube.
Oh.
She's a fame. Have you
I know.
watched her?
I haven't watched, but I get recommended.
Like,
that.
yeah. So imagine there's a planet with there's no conscious being has explored it, and there's a beautiful falls.
Falls, like waterfalls.
Waterfall.
Yeah.
Is that an art?
No, it's not art.
But look, in answering that question, I am perceiving it. I am a viewer already. So to me, I will say that is art. But if you ask,
No. Art has to be human made.
no, I am imagining it. He told me there's a waterfall in an unknown planet. I have
So wait,
crafted this.
so it's in my imagination.
Because your definition is that a conscious being.
Has to point to it and call it art. Has to elevate it, right?
Yeah.
A conscious being has to point to it and elevate it, right? If there's beauty in nature, that's not art. By my definition,
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
okay? If someone just me just points to it and says this is art, this is my art,
Yeah.
it immediately becomes art. At that moment becomes art. So your example was it exists in my imagination basically.
No, I'm
No, that
saying that,
wasn't his
what if you've not explored it, but it exists.
In a different, no one's seen it,
No one's seen it.
so we don't know about it.
You don't know about it.
No one is there to point and call
So
it
then
art.
I
It's not
can't,
art.
yeah, if I can't determine, I'll have to see, bro. That's the basic thing.
So you're saying anything that could exist in this ocean of possibility
It's all art.
is all art? No, it's not.
For
The
me-
conscious being has to come and say that this is art.
I'll
For me,
disagree.
it is art when a conscious being witnesses
Point,
it.
yeah, not witnesses, at least points, because
yeah.
an art requires an artist.
Yeah, points it out.
Yeah.
Or yeah, fair. Not just witnesses.
Yeah.
So
Your follow up was that that was a response.
I think see you need a conscious artist
Yeah.
for that. I think like when the Big Bang happened, it was a reaction of it was a chain reaction. All the atoms formed. I think that is an art. Like how it just
If
assimilated.
you call it art, it becomes art. If you call that phenomenon art, yeah.
It's art.
So you have
See,
for the first
I think wait.
I want to congratulate him.
No.
No, I don't think anyone's done this.
what?
I think you might be a frontier. You might be breaking barriers
Calling
with
Big Bang Theory.
calling the Big Bang
an art.
itself. Yeah, not the theory. The Big Bang itself art.
It's a
He has
theory.
taken dominion. His piece of art reigns over everything else.
Yeah.
I want to shake the hand now.
You're probably the first one to call it art.
Call it art, and that becomes
Yeah.
his art.
Yeah.
Because it's not about if you can do it. It's about did you think it first,
For me,
Yeah.
right?
The thought is an art.
Picasso is famous for Cubism because they were the first artists who thought of breaking that rule. So he's broken the rule of this phenomena not even like an object that occurred at the first instance of this universe.
because I've
And he
seen
said this is art.
astronomical photography, you might have seen it's beautiful, like the colors. So for me, I see art in it. But I think,
they
but
enhance it a little bit.
If I was a lawyer, I would say you instead of saying I see art in it, you should say like this is my art. Like I've broken all the barriers that you can perceive.
But I think it has an intrinsic value and does not need a third conscious being to acknowledge it.
Let's actually go into that. That's interesting.
I would encourage you to speak into the mic.
That is interesting.
Like you can just
Yeah.
talk like that, and
Yeah.
you know if you want to look at the camera and
Shall I
say-
take a retake on that?
We'll
Yeah, sure, go on.
From where? Yeah. So
No, I think it was organic. Let's
Yeah,
roll
yeah,
with that. Yeah.
So-
What was the discussion that you wanted?
I think it's an interesting question. Is that if there is no viewer, we have been of this view that there has to be a viewer and an appreciator, let's call it, for something to be art. He's saying it's not viewed, it is not known.
Well, we have to know. We know it now.
We know it now, but let's say
If Karthik wasn't here,
let's say
say
we
this.
didn't know about it. Let's say there is something which Karthik didn't talk about.
okay,
There's something.
it's not art. It's just it exists in this like unknown. Like for example, we don't know anything. You
sorry, I did.
yeah.
It moved, huh? It's cool, bro.
Yeah. Why did you widen the feet?
Bro, so it'll topple otherwise.
No, mine's fine.
If you touch it, it'll topple.
You just don't touch it.
Sorry.
So what I was saying,
Yeah.
there is so much we don't know. Like all these planets have all trillions and trillions of galaxies exist, which have trillions and trillions of stars and star systems and planets. And each planet could have all this beautiful scenery, landscape views. But none of them is art. For the same reason that the landscapes on Earth isn't art, because there's no one to like point and call it art. So if it might be beautiful, but art is not beautiful. art need not be beautiful. He's defining art as something beautiful.
No. He just said waterfall. It could have been like a crevice in the earth. Is that art?
It could be someone's ass crack.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's definitely
as
art.
long as someone's pointing to it and saying it's art, it's art.
It's art.
Okay? It doesn't have to be beautiful. Aesthetic value, aesthetic threshold is not existing in the definition of art. In most
See,
liberal.
guys, see, if I have to point at a thing and say art, I should know what art is.
No, you should know that thing exists.
That's all.
Yeah.
You should be able to experience it in some manner.
That's all.
Yeah.
So I just read somewhere recently that the bears in general, any type of bear, grizzly bear or any type of bear, they just sit and admire nature.
That's sick.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I read up on it.
See,
So
art is more than admiring. For example,
This is interesting. Yeah.
so something can be admired upon, but
that exists.
no, it doesn't stop being its mundane self. For example, if there's a very beautiful tree, unless someone says this is art, and there is a very important thing that happens when some conscious agent points to something and calls something art. Okay? It provokes everyone else or whoever, if there are other people, to think of it as this category of things that don't have purpose, that serve the purpose of expression, or even not even that, or it exists for its own sake. Right? Now, this urinal existed for a purpose.
Yeah.
It was manufactured with the express intention of using it to be used as a urinal in a male bathroom. But when Duchamp took it out and inverted and called it art, it became that thing. It became a piece of art that people come in view. Not that they haven't seen urinals before, but they come in view. They have discussions about it. It's provoking thought and conversation. That's what is art.
You know what? The urinal, imagine it was naturally available through maybe natural carving of maybe waves. All right. And Duchamp did not acknowledge it.
Duchamp.
Duchamp. What's his name?
Duchamp. Duschamp.
Duchamp.
Duchamp. The spelling might be wrong, but there is an SCH somewhere.
See,
And
Let's not be villagers.
it
let's-
ends with a P.
Let's call it Duchamp. Like as opposed to be-
Let me take my own
Duchamp.
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 Like bison is bison. The first time I heard somebody say that, I was like,
Oh, what?
bro. Like bison, the French call it bison.
Bison.
I love the French.
I love the French too, bro.
I don't like the French for the reason that I like the English.
I studied French for 2
And the
years.
English don't like the French.
Just by extension.
By extension, yeah. But the enemy of my friend is an enemy.
Yeah, you were saying.
You love the French.
No, I was saying something else before that. So I was saying that let's imagine the cosmology, like how big it is, how varied, how beautiful it is. Imagine there was no conscious being in this cosmic. Would the beauty not be beauty?
Where is beauty coming?
What? There is
I
no
wanna ask
meaning of beauty if there is no conscious experience.
Yeah, I get it. But like I think it has an intrinsic value of its own. The false has an intrinsic value of its own, and it does not need
No,
a
no,
relational
no, I
value
don't-
of you
Okay.
acknowledging it is an art.
Let's look at this. Why do we like mountains?
The fountain doesn't exist by itself.
Yeah.
It doesn't even exist by itself. Now you are there perceiving it as a fountain. Now there is a value hierarchy. This is the Jordan Peterson keeps going into the value hierarchy. I love that phrase, value hierarchy. You are viewing it. What is a waterfall? You are choosing to define a waterfall as a self-contained structure. For someone else, for an alien, it could be water molecules, right? It might not even be looking at the stones or the fall or the height
And
as one one concept.
And even on earth,
It can be learned upon, but it's your value.
yeah.
You are imposing your value, which is this whole thing is one thing. It's
Yeah.
called and
And
that's
even on earth, if your rods and cones were susceptible to other colors, let's say purple or maroon.
I am susceptible.
Okay, we are susceptible to purple, yeah. But let's say
Let me
some
remind
color.
you.
Obviously, I can't name a color.
Susceptible as in I can perceive.
Yeah, you can
purple.
perceive.
Can you not?
So let's say that. Where was
It's a different color.
I was saying.
Yeah, no. Even on Earth,
Yeah.
if what you could perceive, if the light rays coming in, you perceived a certain wavelength, it may not look pretty. It may look bad because of the manner in which we are perceiving it and what we get access to. We're saying it's beautiful.
Agreed.
No, yes. Yes.
I'm
Yes,
adding
yes.
to what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing.
Yes. And the example I think Alex gives, and I love how we just say Alex. Because we say Alex because
Like a friend or
he
something.
said when you look at a glass, a mug is made up of the body and the handle.
Yeah.
But we perceive it, we call it just the mug. We are imposing our value hierarchy on it and saying this is one object. So even to perceive, before you even say this is right and this is wrong, to even perceive some things as they are, right? To perceive you as one individual instead of thinking as different organs or different particles and different atoms is to have a value hierarchy.
Is to experience it also.
Is to have a value hierarchy, to even perceive things. So without anyone there to perceive it, without any value, there is no value. Without the value comes from the perceiver.
Yeah.
If it's a universe of just rocks and stones, there is no beauty.
Yeah. Because the
There cannot
beauty is
In the eye of the beholder.
no. Beauty is consciousness is fundamental to beauty, bro.
It's a saying as
saying.
old as time.
We just threw it in as quickly as possible.
No, I think beauty is consciousness is the necessary
Yeah.
ingredient to
Absolutely.
something being beautiful or bad or anything.
So
Ship of Thesis, bro. Let's wind up on that. I don't know how we got here.
You want to cut it?
Let's wind up. Let's give
let's
a
wind
final
up this.
take.
So I guess we discussed from Ship of Theseus to art. I think art took a good chunk.
Yeah.
What art is and what are the inclusive definitions. Do you want to record like a intro?
With the ship of Theseus, I have one thing to say. Since I see time as a vector, that it is moving. The Earth is moving around and the solar system is moving. The galaxy is moving and everything is in motion.
Yes.
So for me, even me looking myself at the mirror is not instant. I've moved in time by the time I've been able to perceive
Yeah, you're
myself.
seeing like a older self
self of yourself
yeah,
in the mirror.
a younger version. Sorry.
Okay.
Younger version. If you narrow it down to nanoseconds or microseconds. So in that definition, nothing that exists is same.
Same.
So you're talking about again identity being floating.
Even identity, I know our identity do not change on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis,
Changes
but
on a
it
minute basis.
it might change over a long period of time. And environment plays a really important role. Even though you say I derive from within, there is a lot because you weigh in on the environment for your internal identity. That is the two things I want to add in.
So you're saying environment plays a role.
Very big role.
Very big role. Okay. Okay. Like for example, if I exist in a different society, I might not think of myself as being overweight.
Yeah.
It's the environment now, or if I exist in the
Texas or something, you
We
may
should-
not think
we
you're
should-
overweight. Yeah.
We should talk about the Mensa test.
or if I
We should
exist,
talk about the Mensa test.
why should we talk about the mentality?
You being around them might be a normal, but you being around a dumb people might Abhishek, you're smart. You're
All
intelligent.
relative.
I get that a lot with my friends who don't talk what I talk. When I'm around you guys, I don't feel come on, I'm not that good. I feel I don't look up on myself. But when I'm around people who don't appreciate the way you both appreciate things, they see me as like, oh, this guy is like
This is
like
ego
that.
boost.
It's like that in our little bubble. We're like,
Yeah.
bro, what genius is?
Let's get down 10 episodes before we start patting ourselves on the back. This is he's patting our back as well also his own
not
back.
No,
rock our
I'm
own
just
boats.
giving an example.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, bro.
So that is still a podcast. What is a podcast? What is art? So that's still a podcast. I suspect most of our episodes will be about what is that?
Yeah, what does it mean?
What is art?
Because philosophy boils down to basics.
Yeah.
man, come on.
And then
I
I
love
think
that
I want
though.
to conclude this podcast. Like it changed my view because I used to shit
don't
on
say that.
which like summarize my view on it. Like it's changed my view because I had to.
It has changed your view.
Yeah.
What?
That's a
What is-
massive win.
What sorry,
Sorry, I
this
used
podcast, this.
Yeah. Like what the history Abhishek gave me
Yeah.
of art.
Episode.
Like I never looked at art from a point of view of revolutionizing it to like there's a breakthrough in phases. Like
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't know this.
I didn't know it either. And when I
I
first
never
read,
I thought you were
acknowledged
born
it.
with this information.
I was actually when I was born, they did a test and I realized I knew art history.
He's come prepared.
And then I used to shit on modern art. I was like, come on, I can just splash.
This is flat. Jackson
Yeah.
Pollock, more like granddaughter.
Like I can just splash and then I can recreate this and I can just sell it for for crores. But like when he gave me history, I was like blown away. Like, I was like, damn. Maybe it's not the effort, it's the story behind.
It's the context. That was the end of episode 2.
Right.
You can catch us at air.janardhan on Instagram.
I don't want to plug myself in.
I'm too popular, guys. No need more.
Okay, both of them are not on the grid. You can just find me and find the podcast on Instagram and YouTube. Be sure to check us out.
Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please drop a comment in, guys. And any
Share it with your friends, family, WhatsApp group. Educate everybody.
Huh?
Educate everybody, bro.
see you guys in the next episode. Peace out. Bye.
I think that's good, guys. Now we need to do thumbnail. Each person you should do like this, like that. You should make art.